Some cars are quite good, just not in certain specs. Take the 2018 Lexus LS 500 for example. It is a brilliant leap forward over the last generation. It's better to look at, it's better to drive, it's just better. But then there's the F-Sport trim. It takes this big body barge and reimagines it as more of a honed and toned quasi-athlete. And for me, that completely detracts from what the LS is, or could be in the right spec. And don't even get me started on the f***ing infotainment. Now, before I get negative, let's focus on the positive, because honestly, there is a lot of it. Lexus's high-end craftsmanship is on display everywhere across the interior with a wide variety of interesting lines and materials. I'm personally particular to the layering on the doors, the almost floating armrests, and the quality of the seat leather. I mean, heck, I even dig the little chintzy art installation thing that's next to the infotainment screen. Its on-road character is equally plush. Its twin-turbo V6 has 416 horsepower and 442 pound-feet of torque, which is sent to all four wheels by way of a 10-speed automatic transmission. While it gets going in enough of a hurry, and you can get a little bit of fun from it in the curves, it's not an Olympian. The best way to enjoy this car is to put it in comfort mode, sit back and relax as you serenely cruise over potholes and relish in Lexus's always excellent noise isolation. But that's part of the problem with the F-Sport trim. Sure, you get bigger brakes and F-Sport specific seats, which admittedly are pretty swell. But you also get a sport-tuned adaptive suspension, and air is only optional on rear-wheel drive variants. This is not an AMG. I mean, hell, it's barely over an appearance package. I mean, who is honestly gonna buy this car under the pretense of a tiny semblance of sport? I want this to be the bargain Sonda class that it is, soft and stately. I say ditch the F-Sport package entirely and spend that money on prettier trim and cushier rear seat appointments. And there are plenty of those options available in non-sporty trims. Only then, in my opinion, will the car really be capturing at least part of its true potential. I've been lucky to film the last few videos with cars that are pretty well free of any major faults. But now we're in Lexus land, and it's time for me to address the one thing on the LS 500 that cannot be ignored: the infotainment system. I mean, sure, you get a big, beautiful 12-inch screen that shows everything in relative clarity, but in order to use that screen, you have to deal with this. It is a touchpad based on a laptop trackpad that uses haptic feedback to kind of stick to each of the individual options as you go. And it's supposed to reduce distraction, but I find it almost impossible to use it while driving and almost as difficult to use while stationary. Now, Lexus has stuck with this system for years, but I really think they should have put this dog down a while ago. Now, it also introduces confusion in a couple other ways. Let's say you're cold and you want to heat your seat. Simple thing, right? Maybe there's a switch or a dial here. No, there's not. You have to hit this seat button, then navigate with the touchpad through two menus to activate your heated seat. Now, let's say you want to jump between screens on the menu. Let's say you're looking at your radio. You want to get to your radio, there's a button up here by the climate controls. Now you want to switch back to your map. Well, there's no button for the map here. You have to go back down to the trackpad to find it. Why they don't put this in the same place, I'm not entirely sure. Would make a little more sense, but as it is, it's just kind of jumbled. Lexus LS buyers are, let's be honest, not young. When you finally get to the stage in life where you can afford a car like this, the last thing you want to try and deal with is a system as obtuse as this. I can't imagine a single older person I know who would be cool with this system. And all the younger, tech-savvy rich folks I know are, no offense, definitely not buying Lexus LSs. That said, the in-car tech does have some positive qualities. You get 4 USB ports, 2 of which are tucked away in the rear armrest so there's no fighting for charging time. The 24-inch head-up display is impressive in both size and quality. And the optional Mark Levinson sound system has 23 speakers and sounds just as good as some of the best stuff coming out of Germany. It's not all bad, but the focal point of this infotainment system does hold this car back. Now, the 2018 Lexus LS 500 is not a cheap car. It starts around $85,215 with all-wheel drive. Now, ours is optioned up to $88,000, which in my opinion is not really money well spent. Personally, I would ditch the F-Sport trim entirely and build up a cheaper LS 500 starting around $75,000 with a more visually impressive interior and a comfier ride. Now, I'd like to make the joke that the LS 500 could have been a contender, but to be honest, it is a contender. The Mercedes-Benz S-Class starts at $90,000, and both the Audi A8 and BMW 7 Series are only $10,000 behind that, and that's for their base models. the LS500 really does present a value play, which should have it popping up on your radar if that's something you keep in mind. If you dig the polarizing looks and are somehow even remotely okay with the infotainment system, the LS500 will reward you with a plush ride and an even plusher interior that embodies the best that Lexus has to offer. Just make sure you spec it right.